action items for last week, which was that Jason was going to create PRs to the community repo to deprecate these. I'm guessing that didn't happen, and it's not that big of a deal. I don't think anyone's using the chime action, so that one would be really nice to do. I don't think anyone's using this template because the README for Action ROS CI tells you enough. Dashboard, we decided, what did we decide about the dashboard? We were thinking about roadmap and community. Oh yeah, dashboard, yeah, we also want to remove. And then PyPy is still being used by the cross-compile tool to upload a version to test PyPy whenever it gets checked into master. So for that one, there's something like there is an official PyPy action, and so really it's more like we need to migrate the cross-compile tool over to use the official PyPy action and then deprecate this. So it's kind of a two-step process. But yeah, we can probably move them all to read only. We just can't delete them. But I looked around on GitHub, and there's like no mention of most of these, so it's not even like anybody is using them on GitHub that we would be throwing off by removing them from the marketplace. So that's just my context on that. I'll sync up with Jason or go do that myself later. I'll actually add that as an action item for this time as well. Not in a hurry, but should just follow up on things we want to do. And then I don't think I posted on Discourse either. There's been a bad offline action item doer. I also just feel weird about it because we have had sort of in-depth design discussions in the past about things as large as RViz or about RViz itself, and nothing really came of it when there wasn't a dedicated team to work on what was being proposed. It almost doesn't feel worth having the discussion until you have some indication of who's going to work on it. Does anyone else have a specific thought about that as well? I think, Dirk, last time you expressed that same thought.
I think the big one is if we could start pulling some of those enthusiastic students and folks away from the navigation working group, we could definitely start leveraging them sometime.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. The thing is, people actually, like, those students may actually be working on that navigation stuff as part of their grad program, but they're not working on, a visualizer tool. It still feels like it's
very few visualizer tool research.
I mean, maybe people who study graphics specifically or simulation, but there's honestly nothing all that interesting graphically or simulationally about RViz. The important part's the communications and the modularity. It's very much a pure software engineering project. Yeah. Anyways, so I do see what you mean about there is perhaps a pool of enthusiastic students out there, but I think that they're attracted to what they're attracted to already and would be doing it even if there wasn't a working group looking at it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that's we did have a chat with so there was a discussion with Stephen Brzezinski that there was someone who might be interested in re-architecting RViz 2 in somewhere in a that was in the navigation working group, but that was kind of one student individual.
Which means they may not have the time to follow through on it, or maybe they do. I don't know. Some grad students have a lot of time on their hands, and some disappear without a trace.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, but it's not a lot to make a commitment on for sure.
Exactly.
Just as a small antidote, you mentioned the overlap of academia and RViz. My first foray in ROS at CMU, we were making autonomous aerial surveying robots, like an octrotor to survey bridge and infrastructures. And what we had to do is we had to write the RViz plugin so that you could scrub through the trajectory of the robot and then get the spherical image view, like so to provide inspectors like this click and point feature where they could click on a point of the point cloud of the bridge, and then it would explode into a viewpoint with a zoomed up RGB image. So anyway, there was a lot of engineering to get the RViz plugin to work, but it was for a robotic research project. So there's some overlap. I think you just have to find the niche contributors that would benefit from that.
I mean, one of my first contributions to, actually, my first contribution to ROS was a pull request to RViz as well. So,
usually people interested in like UX, user experience, are more drawn towards the graphical interface tools.
Yeah, it's just hard to say how much we could coordinate because a real migration or re-architecture across, of RViz 2, that'd be a big project, I think, and it's hard to tell how much of like a large-scale coordination you can get going on it. Because projects like that, it feels like it's if you leave it halfway done, you're worse than you started. Yeah, I mean, I guess part of the question. Go ahead.
It deters like other people from starting from scratch or like adding on to it. They're still working on it, but it's just CEO state or something.
Yeah. So, does anybody know if this is not RViz, but if WebViz does live communication with a running application yet? Because that's something that I feel like made it have really limited value in terms of thinking about like a web interface, which is definitely like there's kind of a split in the community as far as I can tell, in terms of some people are like, never take away my Qt, and if you do, I'm going to be angry. And then there's other people who are like, drop the Qt, go to the browser. And I feel like most people fall pretty strongly into one camp or the other.
I think we actually had dueling RQt web viz presentations at a ROSCon, and was it Stuttgart or was it Hamburg? I don't remember which one, but yeah, this has been a long running I don't want to say fight, discussion, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, it's just people really like their native tools. I think there's especially a generation of developers that are not convinced about the browser yet, even though it's taken over every other portion of like the engineering world. Not to say that they're wrong, just to say that like they're coming from a different perspective, and you may find an age line on where those opinions fall. Anyways, so that is the.
So I put everybody in the notes with the company / university mappings. I didn't know yours, PJ. If I should, I apologize. But let me know if you want me to remove those, or for some reason you don't want to get be identified in the notes. That will go public after the meeting.
Yeah, actually, just after that little discussion, it still already felt like fun. I just want to make sure that if we have such a discussion, there's no expectations around any outcome of it, just that it's a salon on what we think might be the future of it. So we'll move on past that. And like I looked here, we don't have any community pull requests. And then that's about it for the regular stuff. I'd like to solicit any discussions anybody wanted to have, or any issues or PRs anyone wants to bring up for attention. Otherwise, maybe I'll spend a little bit looking at the project board, but I think we'll call it at latest at 9:30 at that point if we don't have anything else to talk about.
I'm a fan of giving time back when we don't have anything to talk about.
Yeah. In fact, we could even call it now. I'm just feeling like we've been a little bit of a lull the last few meetings here. There's work going on ROSBEG too. I don't know if it needs the project board structure to continue, just because the folks who are working on it know what parts they're interested in implementing. I know, PJ, you're on the phone, and I feel bad that your PR got clobbered for the threading stuff, though I do feel good that we're moving in the right direction architecturally. Is everything there okay for you on the compression thread? No major blockers or?
Yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of time to look at that this week, but I've started looking into it a little bit, and I don't think it'll be too hard to update everything.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Like the conflicts weren't quite trivial, but it's not too bad either. So I don't think there's anything stopping me from getting it merged in.
So what I was thinking with that was that Karsten and I had a conversation. I don't know if it was in one of these meetings or if it was just on a PR. It's hard to remember what format it was in. That compression is really no different than the format converters in the writer. It's really just another plugin, like the converter is, and so it would make sense for the sequential writer to not have an actual separate sequential compression writer class. What we've done to that end so far is just remove all the duplicated code. So it would make sense to me for the thread of message processing to be part of the understanding of just the sequential writer, and have the compression writer only understand the compression portion of that. Not necessarily that it's managing a thread cache. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that would probably make sense. I'd have to dig into the code a little bit to get an idea of how easy that would be to implement.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just what I had on my mind, because I think what we're going to try and do is, right now there's an explicit understanding of the ZSTD plugin or the ZSTD implementation of compression. I think we're going to pull it out and make it look a lot more like the default the storage plugins, because you know how SQLite plugin in ROSBEG 2 is not tied into the CPP core with the writers and readers. It's a plugin that implements an interface that's exposed, and we meant to do that originally for compression, and given time constraints, like cut it off early with kind of a intermediate hack. So I'm hoping to push the architecture back towards the proper plugin interface and get rid of that sequential compression writer entirely.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So that was one thing that I wanted to bring up in terms of issues in flight. Obviously, no hurry. Like you've got your schedule to work with, but
and even though it doesn't exist right now, but I could see people wanting to mix and match different compression and storage formats.
Exactly. I mean, like right now we've got ZSTD, but maybe you want to plug in an image compression format for images specifically. I could even see people wanting to use something like not just a per frame, but in interframe compression format like VLP9 or H.264 or whatever. I'm not sure what that would look like to integrate that in ROSBEG 2, but I think it would make a lot of sense in the future for that to be a possibility.
Right, and I think that there are also still probably cases where, like, if you only care about the actual compression ratio and don't care about speed, then bzip might still be a better option too.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So it'd be nice to have those, expose that plugin interface. I don't think it'd be that much work. It would probably take a few PRs and shake up some of the existing code structure. So it's one of those things that would take time to bake in, and we haven't had a lot of dedicated development time for ROS 2 either. ROSBEG 2 specifically. Any other things that are in flight that I feel like need attention? I have a working prototype of the cross-compile tool actually doing a proper cross-compilation. I think I brought this up already, but I'm trying to slowly trickle in PRs as I pull out features of my from my work in progress branch. So I feel good about that. I submitted a little lightning talk with the description of that tool. I'm excited to see which ones get picked. Looking forward to ROS World. I was really disappointed that ROSCon was canceled, so it's good that we're doing something. Anyways, if nobody else has anything else, I think I'm happy to call it at this point. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for coming today. Maybe if you have anything you want to talk about before the next meeting, ping it on the doc that we were prepared ahead of time. And
well, maybe maybe we should just take a look at the board. Maybe we don't need to like aggressively prioritize it, but just so everybody has an idea of what's going on, what's going in general.
Yeah, it's a bit out of date. We have 26 new issues, most of which are feature requests, but we do have a few bugs, which probably are the most important things to look at. We have
maybe one thing to jump on before we look at the tickets. We have a new person at Open Robotics, Michael Geronimo, and he is currently working on RQT bag. So he's working on making that work in ROS 2, and I think he ran into some cases where he basically like, well, based on the flexibility in the storage, well, he kind of settles on directly accessing some of the SQL databases because he needs like filtering, ordering, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think the API will not give you all of that blows and whistles. A database will get you. So that's probably something to consider in the future. But for now, he's just making it work with the SQL backend.
I mean, it makes sense. You might need if you want really sort of powerful data exploration, you might need to interface with the direct storage formats because you can only, depending on what storage formats you're using, you can only expose a limited set of APIs. I guess some of them could be supported for some storage formats or others.
Which I think is fine. I mean, for now, that's at least something people can use. So if either of you guys at some point, maybe not now, but like in a few weeks, wants to give it a shot, that would be good for him for feedback, I think.
Great.
And people can just try starting to use it because more users means usually finding more issues and wanting more features.
Yeah, where do I find that? ROS2 Arcade?
No, I think it is in ROS-visualization and then RQT bag, RQT _bag. It's the same repo as the ROS 1 version.
Oh, it's just a different branch. Yeah, it makes sense.
And I think the branches might not even be stable yet because he had like a version and then we like iterated on splitting things up. So it might take a few days or so to settle, but just that's currently ongoing.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, so Master Branch has his latest work on it. I guess Master is the ROS 2 dev now.
No, I don't think so. Master is still the ROS 1.1.
Okay.
But some of the changes because the big patch he already worked, he has a local version which works, but some of the changes apply to both ROS versions. So we figured out to land first all the bug fixes on the Master Branch and then re-branch off from that one to only apply the ROS 2 specific changes.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. It's still in flux, but well, at least we know it's ongoing.
Yeah, I'd be happy to try it out at some point. It's definitely an important.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can give an update next week, next week, whatever.
Next time, yeah. Sure thing. Starred. Okay. So then we have. Using the image with an action requires calling. This is not a new bug. I guess, yeah, we'll take a look at the bugs. Those are the most important feature requests at this point are mostly PRs welcome, which I'm happy to ping, but I'm not sure how this one got back to the new column. This is true. There's some root-owned stuff in the setup ROS Docker images, which is unfortunate. I don't have an immediate fix for it. But, bug in the backlog. This one's a known one. I don't know how it got back to the new issues column. Okay. compilation failure because of plugin lib and oh, sorry, this is probably very small. There we go. "4,000 pixels of sharing screen." Okay, this one's only a few days old. I should probably look at this. I did ping him originally and then didn't look at the response. So yeah, we do want this tool to work. I think we also do need to have a conversation about, Dirk, you've brought this up a few times, of how we consolidate the CI tooling for between this and I mean, honestly, there's industrial CI as well now, provides some of the same utilities. And at one point, Ruffin, you told us about a Circle CI based solution that was not industrial CI, I think. And
Yeah,
then
it's just using Docker and the basic ROS.Culkin command.
Yeah, which this is too. It's just packaged as a GitHub action.
I mean, consolidation is probably like further out, but I think the first thing which would be really helpful is like having a detailed comparison and overview of what each of them does, how they does differently, and what they can and cannot do. Because commonly it's like for people, they like, oh, we just choose this one because somebody told me, and then like down the road, like, hey, this is maybe not the right choice for yours because of whatever constraint, right?
Yep.
And I think just having that information will help people make an informed decision. And then, yeah, of course, I think the perspective in the future would be consolidation, but yeah, that's probably much more work than coming up with the comparison.
I submitted a lightning talk to ROS World, and I'm about 75% complete in writing the documentation on like all the design criteria and what went into the navigation CI. Like before, we were just having too much issues. We're like, it'd take 2 hours to build our CI, and that's a lot nicer, and it only takes 5 minutes.
Sure, but I think each individual documentation is valuable, but it doesn't help a user. The user needs the comparison of those. He needs to know what are the pros and cons to choosing either of them.
Yeah, that's what the documentation is including, like the alternatives that we went through, and what's the purpose of each particular feature.
Okay. If you have it at some point for sharing, just like throw a link in the sheet, and I'm happy to take a look.
That'd be really nice. Because it does feel like there's a lot of duplicated effort in maintaining these.
I'll share a link to the PR once it's out of work in progress.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna put this one to in progress researching. Because I am looking into it. Okie doke. Is this test as of a week ago? Well, test failing, not awesome. I feel like there was a change to fast RTPS at some point that changed our test behavior, which just went to show that the tests were really fragile, but it was frustrating. That was probably right around the Foxy transition. Bugs and pin, high priority. You don't want those nightly tests failing. We need to look at this. Oh, it's just not updating. Look, exception of sonar recording in the high frequency bag. Reliable, keep all. Interesting. Okay, so they're getting a crash when they're throwing high bandwidth at it is kind of what it sounds like to me. This is a really nice detailed report. Oh, and Dirk and Chris were on this. Yeah, I think this has something to do with, or my first guess would be that this has something to do with keep all.
Well, it's just very inconsistent that the same thing works totally fine with OpenSplice, as RMW not OpenSplice, it's RMW Cyclone.
Yeah.
And the keep all for FastWS is really confusing because if you would expect it, I mean, yeah, under the hood there's a memory limit when it starts discarding anyway, even if you just say keep all, right? But it seems that that limit is really low because it happens when you publish with high frequency and you are fine caching, because you would take the con of taking more memory to cache the data. It will just at a very early threshold already throw them away. And I think even responding on the RMW layer with like can't write the data is just really wrong, because that's not what the API says you should do.
Uh-huh.
So I think this is something we have to resolve in FastWS. I don't know if there's a follow-up thing on the ROSBEG side for handling that kind of high frequency. That could be.
Yeah, well, we have problems with high frequency data, but it's not this. Like we'll drop messages that don't make it into the recording, but it's a different problem. Yeah, maybe we should close out this ticket. I don't think we got a response.
We should probably move it back, because I think it was originally moved from the RMW repo.
Oh, is that how that?
I think.
Yeah, let me look at the GitHub.
Scroll a little bit down. It should mention the move.
Transferred this from FastRGPS yesterday. Yeah. So let's see.
I can probably transfer it back.
I don't think I have permission to transfer it back because I don't have permissions on the other repo. I mean, maybe. I don't. So if you could, that would help. So I will leave that alone for now then. And then new warnings in the Windows packaging jobs. Oh, this is related to the ROSBEG 2 Pi stuff. So I'm going to put this back of the backlog. That's been difficult to get all of the builds happy. It's interesting that the packaging job gave it, but not the nightly release. What was different in the packaging job? I don't know. Okay, Even seems to be on it though. Okay, so it's looks like it's even in progress. Then we have just to update. Stuff in the backlog, stuff in flight. Yeah, performance testing. We do have a performance test package now. I saw that. That's nice. Asynchronous storage rights. I think Kirsten said he was going to make slow progress on that, so that's fine for now. Jason is making very active progress towards caching based on the size of the cache rather than the count of messages, which includes providing a non-zero default, which was one of the top issues called out in the performance review. So that's it will be nice to get that in. To cross compile, this is not true anymore. I mean, I filed this before Foxy was released and everything fixed itself. I was trying to build against the pre-release. Okay, then we've got a lot of bugs in the backlog that are all filtered to the top for the most part. Might make sense for me to take a pass through at some point and make sure they're all still relevant. There's a lot of issues in there. What if I filter by bug label? We have 30 things marked as bug in the backlog. We need bug bounties or something. Where's the budget? Okay.
That's not a crazy idea. That's something like maybe we should start talking about that. There are a lot of bugs and not a lot of people to work on.
Yeah. I mean, you probably could knock through them pretty quick if you had someone just paying attention to that, but who knows, maybe a bounty program would be interesting. So, this one should probably be listed as a bug. Oh, it is labeled as a bug. Bug. So, failure to click on list does not stop the action in action ROS CI. This is, yeah, that's legit. This is a real bug. We should take care of it. Don't have an assigning for it though. Make that 31. That's what I will say there. And then feature requests. These should have, yes. Okay. For some reason this view is not showing me all of the labels, which is mildly frustrating. But none of these look like, these are all explicitly, oh. What's all this launch ROS sandbox stuff? Do I normally just not show that repo? I think that's what it is, because we kind of don't have this in maintenance mode. That makes more sense to me. Sorry, it's not even in maintenance mode, just that tool is not under development. Feature request, passing. Well, I guess there's only 6. I might as well look at them. Okay, add integration tests for set up ROS Docker, which I made on May 28th. I'm very confused because we've gone through this list since then. So there it is, moving it to the bottom. This one's from Dan Rose, our very good CI bug finder. Oh, yeah, it shows up as green, but it shows you this stuff because of standard error output. I need to look at that. Actually, this output doesn't make any sense because they are giving that output, I believe, in this case, or those inputs in this case. Well, someone ought to take a look. It's not one of the biggest deals, though. Option to skip installation of DDS packages and set up ROS. Sure. Can I just give a thumbs up? Probably on the GitHub view of it. Which is why I don't like this view, actually. I like... Let's see, draft PR. That is something I don't want to see right now. Yeah, thumbs up, exactly. default version of Clang. Sometimes they want to use a newer version. Is that when you apt install? I guess there are a few different versions you have available to you. You can, yeah, okay. So that's nice. I also think that this is nice, and contributions are welcome. Package runtime. Oh, this is for cross compile, which can go to the bottom of the backlog. The deal is that I am the tool has this new feature where you can have it output a Docker image that is essentially the runtime of your whole application, which you can then just deploy and run. The only problem is it uses the build environment and then just packages the install directory in there, which means that you get a whole lot more stuff than you actually need. So what I want to do is only have the runtime dependencies and the build as this runtime image, which should decrease its size by a lot, a few hundred megabytes at least on a simple application, just because the build tools are big.
The ROS step ticket for changing or extending the behavior for like installing just runtime dependencies, I think that was originally closed.
Was it? I should look at ones that are closed.
Oh, maybe I subscribed to something else. But
maybe there could be other tickets about it, but there is this one, ability to query builder exec dependencies only, which yeah, I guess that's what I mean. Is like I'd like an option for this tool to run just the ROS def get the exec depends.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that would be really useful. Oh, and then there's selection of dependency types, which was filed at some point, and this one's closed.
Oh, I think this was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is this one closed? Yesterday. Oh, that's why it's on your mind.
I think it got closed for someone's PR to their own repo though.
Oh. I can't open it myself, but I can ask. Cool. Yeah, exactly. So this is a feature that would help with that. It's only half of the cross-compile tool thing. Like there's one part which is having a different base image that doesn't have the build environment installed, but then there's the other half is being able to selectively choose which type of ROS dep to install. Because I know we get those exec depends for at some point in a process, because when it gets packaged up for apt, I believe it depends on only the exec dependencies in order to inform what apt packages it depends on to install. So that the ability to list that definitely exists somewhere. I guess in the ROS dep code base, I found the line where it's like return exec depends plus build depends plus test depends, and so it just needs to be teased out there.
Was there any movement on that meta package for like C++ runtime ROS stuff? Or I think there was a discourse thread. I don't know if there's any more activity on that.
On which? Sorry.
I thought there was some discussion on adding a new meta package for that would.
Oh yeah, the like minimal rep for the a new variant for a minimal C++ distro that was less than the core.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's been no movement on that whatsoever. I think I even closed it just because I wasn't or moved it back to draft, something like that, just because I didn't have any time to think about it, and it seems like kind of a big problem to tease apart. Because a lot of the testing infrastructure, even for the pure C packages, is Python based, and that made it really hard to figure out how you put together the variant, because build tools and test tools and actual functionality are all intermingled in a way that I don't fully understand. How you might call a variant, because you kind of want to deploy that code, but then do you include the testing packages or the Emmet packages as part of the variant you're considering deploying to the target platform? Oh, I don't have good answers for this. It was a hard question, and I just haven't had time to debate it. That might be a nice conversation for a breakout session where I can get some other input.
Sorry, I'll get out of there.
Discuss ROS 2. I don't remember what we were trying to call it, but it might have just been like, anyways, minimal C++ variant. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's one of the things that I had on my mind, and I wanted it for a really specific use case. I was trying to put ROS 2 on a rock chip board that had a really limited distro. I mean, it was like Linux with very little else. So I was doing a toolchain based cross compile of the code base, but only up to our CLCPP. And it was non-trivial to do so. It would be nice to figure out like what that variant would look like and how we could maintain that it had very little out of source dependencies, because I had to build like I was starting from the Linaro sysroot, and I was manually building in like curl and log4cxx and a couple other small packages that built out of the box to augment the sysroot so that ROS 2 could build. It's one of those things that I wished was a supported use case at the time. What's this? Oh, yes.
That's Rep 2001 PR that you opened. Just for context, we don't have to like dive into it.
No, perfect. Okay, so yeah, I might like to have I think that would be a more actionable breakout session too, if we talked about that next week. So I will post about interest on that. And then I got an answer here. Okay, yeah. Cool.
Was he 2 minutes ago? Is he like watching somebody? Is he in the meeting but not actually physically on the meeting? That's
I could just following his GitHub notifications.
Cool.
Sometimes I get lucky that way, right? Like I look at my notification list once a day, and it happens to be that someone posted at the time I'm looking, and so they get really amazed by how fast I respond. Like 1 minute later, I'm like, "Oh, I solved your bug for you," and they're like, "What?" But just happens.
You can install a browser extension and just give it your GitHub notification token, and
Ooh.
It's kind of nice because then you have like your OS like ping you. So like, you just click on it.
You can also start to be immediately not productive anymore if you get notification for every time something happens. People tend to do the opposite. Like, do not look at emails and notifications for like at least 2 hours on block. Otherwise, you can throw the whole day in the garbage.
Yep. That's how I feel about it.
You have to be careful, yeah.
Yeah, I have to go through it once a day at most. Otherwise, my whole day is gone to just like responding every time something comes up. Okay. The time box, magical time box.
People in a recent meeting we had a time management class. They basically tell you like when you do a task, you should do the task, not get distracted because context switching is too expensive. But when you switch anyway from one to another, that's the right time to look at your emails. The ones which are really like you can do within 2 minutes, check them off, and if there's something longer, you keep it for a dedicated slot. And I think that's like usually mostly efficient for the day.
Yeah,
I think
sounds
that's
smart.
really off topic, but that's fine.
A little bit getting things done method, a little bit Pomodoro. Yeah.
I really love how you can leave notifications unread. You're like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
that's interesting. You check it, and you're like, oh, this is too big. Walk away.
Yep. Yeah, it's good now. Except then you eventually have to go back and clear it out. Like I've got sort of 50 undealt with right now that I need to deal with. Anyways, let's look at this last issue, which is it possible to use ROS2Py as a normal Python package? I'm not sure what that means. Tried to build ROS2 using Colcon. Package not found. Do you have ROS2 installed and source data set up at yeah, because that's the only. Okay, this seems like probably just confusion on how to build. So this is in progress, and the label is question. Cool. And I think we have now looked at all of the new issues at least. So we haven't looked at everything, but we have looked at what was new since last time. And now we're actually quite close to the hour. So now I'm happy to call it a day. We had some valuable discussions and we came up with a idea for a breakout session. So thanks for prompting me to do that, Aaron.
Push.
Yeah, sometimes I just need like a little bit of energy from another corner in order for it to feel like worth going into.
2 talking heads is better than 1 talking head.
Exactly. Talking into a void can get a little tiring. So, thanks everyone for the good discussions today. And I will put out the call or put out the notification about the breakout session next week, and then maybe see you next week or the week after that.